We are only a few weeks into winter here in the UK, and I am already finding it quite difficult. It is only 5:30 in the evening as I film this, and as you can see, it is absolutely pitch dark around me. And above that, we have had very little daylight over the last few weeks. We are at the time of year when a lot of northern mainland Europe becomes blanketed in snow. Here in the UK though, our weather is very different. There is a lot of rain, a lot of grey skies, and for many months now there is really no end in sight. So we have the long dark nights and the grey and very gloomy days, and honestly it feels like at this very dark time of year as if there isn't a great deal to look forward to. I do think I find this a little bit easier to deal with at night. Here I am with candles lit and lamps on and the fire blazing. It is warm and cosy in our tiny home, even perched here on the side of a hill. But I have really been struggling with the poor weather and the grey skies recently. So as we are only about a week off the shortest day of the year, I am doing my best to find a little light in the darkness. I'm not exactly sure what that is going to look like this week, but I am hoping for it to be warm and cosy. I am hoping for a little bit of sunshine as well. And by the time we reach that longest night and shortest day of the year, I am hoping to feel a little bit more at home with the dark. It is about 8:30 in the morning. It is just starting to properly get light here. It's another very grey and gloomy day. We've had a lot of rain over the last couple of days. That has very much been the theme for December and, to be honest, most of the second half of the autumn. So I won't say I'm getting used to it, but it is definitely nothing out of the ordinary. We did have some glorious sunshine on Saturday morning though, just for a few hours. And to be honest, as soon as we saw on the forecast that there was likely to be even some dry weather, we were rushing out of the house to get out on a walk. This is incredibly important at this time of year. It is really tempting to just stay inside, particularly when the fire is lit and the skies are a bit gloomy. But in the long run, I find that does me no good at all. On a very basic level, I do start to stiffen up if I spend too long sitting down. That is just a consequence of getting a bit older. But I also think my mental health suffers. I start to get very foggy, it's hard to concentrate, I start to worry and get more anxious about things that really do not matter. And to be honest, getting outside just always brings me perspective. If you are standing on top of a hill looking at the view in glorious sunshine or really any other weather, it makes you feel very small, and that is actually a feeling I love. It reminds me that I am just one small piece of a very large universe, and that my problems aren't really worth bothering about too much. The other thing we have been trying to do is enjoy some of the Christmas and winter celebrations taking place around us. That is the really nice thing about this time of year. In the run up to Christmas, there are lots of events going on. We went to a nearby one where a country house and garden were all lit up with Christmas trees and lights and decorations, and it was absolutely fantastic. I honestly wish this sort of event took place over more of the winter and not just just in December, because it is quite literally a light in the darkness. It is so lovely to see everything lit up. It sort of makes the very short days and long nights feel a bit more worthwhile because there is something to celebrate and enjoy in them. What I am really hoping for right now, and what would absolutely make my week, is a little bit of frost. I think snow is too much to hope for. We have had a couple of scatterings of snow over the hills this winter, but there isn't really any forecast, I don't think, before Christmas. And it is fairly unusual for us at this time of year. But I would love some crisp and frosty mornings. That would just be so lovely. So I'm crossing my fingers for that. But I think today, given how wet and gloomy it is, might be one for cozying up inside. I'd actually just gone inside because my workday has about wrapped up, but then I saw the fog starting to roll in and I had to pick up the camera and come back out. It feels like the very opposite of sun and Christmas cheer, but I actually really love the thick fogs we get at this time of year. They are so incredibly atmospheric. They really make the entire world feel magical. And I think maybe that's what I'm looking for the most in winter. Something that turns the world on its head, makes everything look different. All the skeletons of the trees behind me just look like these fantastical figures looming out of the fog. Everything sounds different too. It does make the road a little bit noisier here, but I can also hear the beck over the road behind me. I can hear all these strange sounds of birds, particularly crows, coming out of the mist. And it really is for me like no other weather condition. I am absolutely fascinated by fog in any form, and it's always incredibly magical every time it appears here. So I came outside with the intention of seeing what stars I could find, because it is a really still night and this is the only night of the week where rain is not forecast. But unfortunately the fog from earlier is still lingering, so I really can't see as much as I'd hoped. There are definitely a few stars up there, but they are just above the fog and quite difficult to see, so I'll have to try again later. This is one of those things I have been trying to do more this winter though. Not just get outside, but get outside at times when I wouldn't usually bother, like at night. It is really beautiful here at night. It can be very quiet and still and peaceful, but once I've got inside in front of the fire in the dark, it's quite hard for me to motivate myself to get outside, and I'm trying to change that a bit. So now that I'm out, I am going to have a little explore in the dark. I don't expect to see very much. There is very little light here in winter, but I can at least enjoy the fog. I wanted to wrap this vlog up by talking about light in a more general sense. Now, I have really been focusing on the physical aspect of light. Christmas decorations, the stars, seeing sunlight during the day. Those are all really important when the days are so short and the weather is so gloomy. But one of the things I have been thinking about a great deal this year is what I want to achieve with my writing and my fiction. I recently published my 16th book. I have been indie published now for a little over a decade, I think. And there are times when I look back at my writing and what I've published and I can't see much of a common thread. It is largely fantasy, but I have jumped around between genres and subgenres, types of characters, types of plot. But when I've been thinking about the themes that run through all these books, ones of light and hope keep coming up, and I found that's really important to me. I do sometimes write quite dark scenarios, a lot of action. As is often the case in epic fantasy, there are big world-ending plots. And I often write characters that to the other people around them are considered quite monstrous or strange. But I keep coming back to these themes around light. Bringing light into the world, fighting for what is right, and characters who are perhaps a bit outside the norm for their world, who are still trying to fight for what they believe in. And the more books I write, the more subgenres I explore, I do find that these are things that crop up time and time again. I really, really love stories where the characters are fighting against all odds and having to sacrifice a great deal, but they're doing it because it's the right thing to do. They are trying to save their world, save people they love, simply because it feels morally right to them. And I really hope that readers find the same things in my books. I don't want a reader to ever get to the end of one of my books and feel completely hopeless and depressed. Even when there is sadness and grief and darkness in the stories, overall, I want to bring a sense that the world is worth fighting for and that there can be light and hope in even the darkest of situations. I think this is one of those ideas that I cling to as an individual quite strongly, because I do feel that if there is no hope for the future, for future generations, then honestly, what is the point in anything? That is really important to me, to always grasp that hope, both as a writer and a parent and as an individual. So it is time to wrap up this exploration and journey of searching for light in the darkness. Thank you for being here. I hope if it is winter where you are, that the season is treating you well. I will be back in the new year with more videos, but until then, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time.